my freshman year when one of my professors requested that we take the Myers-Briggs personality test as a part of the course. And this is my result. As you can see, the test says that I'm an extrovert. At first when I took the test, I wasn't necessarily interested in my own results. However, I was only intrigued in the personality test once I looked at the other end of the spectrum, that end being introversion. I had a dying urge to make one of my friends take the test in the hopes of understanding him better, and that friend is also your classmate, and he sits in the front row today, and that's Khalid. Khalid and I knew each other for a long time, but our arguments were endless. Like, I remember our first argument, we were in the library and he was helping me with one of my projects, but he basically wanted to do it all on his own, while I kept pressing him to let me take the lead and put my own stamp on my assignments. It was that year that I clearly understood how different introverts and extroverts actually are, and how much of an impact that has on so many different levels, whether it be on friendships, at work, or even in relationships. And that's exactly what I want to share with you guys today. It wasn't until I read the book, Quiet, by Susan Cain, that I actually understood how different we are and on those levels that I just mentioned. And after I read the book, that's when our arguments ended. And that's what I'm going to share today, what an extrovert has learned about introversion. The introvert-extrovert divide is the most fundamental dimension of personality. So before we step into the fascinating world of introversion, I'd like to make it clear the distinction between the two. So as you can see here, on the right we have introverts and on the left we have extroverts. Both are fully charged, as you can see. On the right, the introvert is fully charged as she's alone, she's in a quiet area and she's writing on her own. And then on the left, you have an extrovert who's socializing, she's on her phone, she's talking, but she's also fully charged. So the basic difference between introverts and extroverts is how they react to stimulus. So for an introvert, when they're alone, there's not much stimulus, but they're fully charged. So they're highly sensitive to stimulus. So when there's just a little bit of activity around them, they're highly stimulated. While for an extrovert, it's the opposite. When they're around people, they want more of that stimulus, they crave it. And we see this reflected in other characteristics of introverts and extroverts. For example, we can see that extroverts love to talk. When they socialize, they're energized, they get inspired. We see that they're usually described as friendly and approachable because of that open personality. And a lot of the time, we find that extroverts act before they think. For example, if you go to a classroom and the professor asks a question, you usually see the extroverts being the first ones to raise their hands. The introverts, on the other hand, they might enjoy the company of other people. However, after a certain time of being in a social crowd, they would need time alone in order to recharge because that social interaction might exhaust them to some extent. So as you can see, this is reflected in other characteristics. For example, they prefer smaller groups with close friends only. Too much stimulation can get them distracted and at times unfocused. They enjoy solitude, they like to be alone, and they focus more on internal feelings rather than external stimulation. And then we have the ambiverts. They lie somewhere in the middle. So if you find that you can't necessarily identify with either or introvert or extrovert, you might actually lie somewhere in the middle. However, it's not black and white. It's not that there's anyone who's a pure introvert or a pure extrovert. We all are a combination of both. However, we tend to be more one towards the other. In the book, Cain talks about something called the extrovert ideal, and she says that this is the value system in which we live in. The subtitle of the book even is The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. Basically, we have moved from a world of agriculture to a world of business. So characteristics such as being social, outgoing, enthusiastic, assertive, and charismatic, they suddenly seem very important. And these characteristics are usually associated with being an extrovert. So a lot of the time nowadays, we tend to think that being an extrovert is actually the way to be. Also, extroverts are highly represented or overrepresented in our social networks. Because extroverts tend to put themselves out there, we tend to believe that they're more common, or extroversion is more common than introversion, while research has actually shown that extroversion is less common than it used to be. This culture of the extrovert ideal that we live in is also reflected in many of our institutions, such as our schools and at work. In a lot of workplaces, we see that they have open plan offices with no barriers between the desks, so people have to basically work and interact with each other all the time. This is also reflected in our schools. For example, we see that there are a lot of committees and group work and group dynamics. However, the introverted way is not the only way. Kane uses this psychological theory to describe how introverts function, and it's called the state of flow. In the state of flow, you're at an optimal state in which you feel engaged in an activity. And this state of flow usually occurs when you're isolated, when you're on your own. And as you can see illustrated, it's basically between boredom and anxiety. So you're neither bored nor are you anxious. Basically what happens is time passes and you have no idea, you have no sense of your surroundings. You're so into what you're doing and you're so focused that you don't know what's going on around you. And in this state, you're not even aware of reward or punishment. And in this state, we see that most of the time, people are most productive. So Kane uses this to describe how effective working alone, as introverts like to be, can be actually effective. As you can see, just to further explain, if you're highly skilled at something, but it's not very difficult, it's very easy, you get bored. But if the task is very difficult, but you're not skilled in it, you'll be very anxious. So in the state of flow, you're kind of in the middle and you're very productive. So this state of flow is not exclusive, as I mentioned earlier, to introverts, but it is the state that introverts are usually in. So group dynamics and group work and collaboration is important. However, Kane illustrates with this theory that being an introvert and working alone to some extent can have its benefits as well. I've learned also by reading the book that introverts a lot of the time are misunderstood. A lot of people think that introverts are shy. Shyness actually means a fear of social judgment. And however, shyness, while some introverts might actually be shy, shyness isn't a characteristic of being an introvert. Introverts just tend to be more reserved in their personality, and they only want to speak when they feel like they have something valuable to add. Another misconception is that people tend to think that some introverts are antisocial, while they just like to be alone and they value their alone time, being isolated in order to recharge. However, these misunderstandings between introverts and extroverts go both ways, and we see that these misunderstandings usually happen between introverts and extrovert relationships. It's hard for an extrovert to grasp how social overstimulation can be overwhelming, while for an introvert, it might be hard or difficult to understand how their silence might sometimes be difficult or hurtful to the other person. This is also reflected in relationships in a sense that both introverts and extroverts like to tackle arguments differently. So in an argument, you might find that an introvert would take a step back, they would lower their voice, and they might seem a bit distant because they want to lessen the aggression that's going on. While an extrovert might raise their voice, and so then the extrovert might perceive the introvert to not care or not show any emotions, which would in the end lead to even more arguments. In a more professional setting, we see that these misunderstandings also lead to introverts being overlooked for different positions. A lot of the time, we forget that introverts have certain strengths, such as being creative, because creativity needs a sense. Sometimes you need to be alone in order to be creative, in order to come up with new ideas, away from groupthink, away from that concept that you're affected by what other people think. Another strength of introverts is that they're good at risk management. Because introverts tend to think before they take action, they're good at fields such as business, where you need that good weighing of risk management. Also, research has shown that extroverted leaders show less outcome or less productivity than introverts do, because when introverts are in leadership positions, they tend to take a step back and listen to what other proactive members might have to say, while extroverts sometimes tend to want to put their stamp on things when they get too excited. Some common leaders or common figures in the world that are introverts are Barack Obama, CEO of Yahoo, Marissa Mayer, Mahatma Gandhi, who famously says, in a gentle way you can shake the world, and this reflects his introversion, and J.K. Rowling, of course everyone knows, the author of Harry Potter. Steve Wozniak, the inventor of the first Apple computer, was so introverted that he spent most hours of his day alone in his office. And he says that if it wasn't for his introversion, the first Apple computer wouldn't have been invented. But that introversion wasn't enough. It wasn't until he worked and collaborated with Steve Jobs that the company Apple was formed. So it's not a debate of who's better or who's worse in terms of personality type. Extroverts and introverts complete each other like yin and yang, and that's something that I've learned while working on this speech. And like the psychiatrist Carl Jung puts it, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Thank you.